Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sitar Gurukul. I hope that the journey of learning sitar is getting smoother. If you have followed all that we have showed you, and if you were a complete beginner, I'm sure that you are feeling that the sitar is going little bit easier every day. If that's what's happening, you're in the perfect track. If you are facing any kinds of problems, write to me. I will be more than happy to help you out. You must have noticed that I played this composition in a slightly different way. If I have played anything like I wanted to, if I could have played anything like I have wanted to, then I'm sure that you found this version of the composition a bit more melodic, a bit more mature. In today's episode, we're not going to do any tans. We are going to show you on what tricks and tips you can use to make your composition sound a bit more mature. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what I played, and right now I'm going to break them up into pieces, and I'm going to teach you what exactly I did to make it sound like the way it did. So, the first portion, what we play in the simplest form is so you are already taking 2 fret measures. So 1 and 2 fret measures, anything that we are going to play within these two limits should not be a problem at all for you. So we're going to, if you notice that I have given a slight kind of accent. Now what is accent? So I could have played it straight, but here I chose to play with time a little bit, and I did. Sorry. So what I did over here is I used compensation. So I played it a little slow in the beginning, and in order for me to make up for that lost time, I played it a little fast in the ga. So instead of one more time, this is something a little more advanced. This is something I just showed you just so you can keep it in your mind somewhere in that corner. But it's completely fine if you play it straight. Eventually, you're going to see that you're going to need to come up with various ways to play the same line, because you're an artist, you're going to be an artist, and playing a composition and not improvising will result in boredom. More on this later. Now I'm going to show you the second part of the part that I just played. So this specific means the palm adha. What you could do is you could play an accent on ma. So when I do, first let me show you its effect. So instead of So what I did here is what I played here is almost like a U-turn. So I take the mead. It's just a simple one fret mead, but since the distance between the Tivra Ma and Pa is very little, so what we are going to do is we're going to just pull a little, very little from Ma. If you have done the one fret mead practice from every fret that we showed in a much earlier episode, this should be very easy for you. If you haven't, go back to that episode and try to play what I've taught you. Play that for a week, and doing this should be very, very easy. If it's anything but easy, then you need to understand that you need to go back and start over from that episode. Coming back, I played Pa from Ma. So usually what we do is we play Ma. What we have learned is that we play, if we want a meal from Ma to Pa, we play the Ma first and then pull, and then stand where I think wherever we think is the Pa, if we have found the Pa. But here we are going to do the opposite. We are going to assume that the Pa is here and stroke in Pa, come back to Ma, and come back to Pa again in a single stroke, and you have to do it really fast. So if I play it very slow, just for your for you to understand, it's going to sound like. So this assumption I'm talking about, the way that I'm assuming that the Pa is there without even listening to it. Of course, I make very fast micro adjustments as soon as I hear the Pa. But this assumption is only going to come if you have already practiced what I showed you on that episode. So coming back one more time. Similar stuff. One more time. So what did I do here? Pa ma da ni. This dhani, it's kind of the same technique over here. So you don't have to really play the perfect U-turn from ni to dha and from ni to dha and back again. Instead, what you have to do is you're going to pull slightly little, very little from dha, and take the dha from here. When I say take the dha, I mean, so I'm not really playing a perfect ni, but it just sounds like a ni because you want to think there's a ni. It gives off a flavor that it's going to be ni. You don't have to get it right in a day. You just have to sound like what you're hearing right now. So watch my hands and watch both of my hands and see what they do. So if I break it down into notes, it's nidha, nidha, ni. Nidha, and then another nidha, but the timing, the distance of the timing between the two nidhas are slightly different. One is slow and steady comparatively, and the other one is a little fast as if it's in a hurry. So, and one more time the same U-turn, pa ma pa. That's the first part, that's gone. And the second part is ni re re ga re sa ni da pa ma da da ni re ga re sa. So we played it straight like. case, we are going to play just a little jerk. So you're going to play a sunny sunny real quick. These little things we usually call murki. So murki are little, very small pieces of ornamentation or jewels that we usually use as techniques to further beautify a simple a note. It's just that. So we have many different kinds of murkis or ornaments. This is one of the murkis that you're going to learn. So these techniques are also ornaments. So we learned one kind of technique, a U-turn, if I may call it, for ease of understanding. And over here is the ni. Eventually, you're going to play a much complicated version of ni, which is going to sound kind of like this. But for the time being, we are going to start our journey towards that complex and even more complex ornaments. But we're going to start it like a very fast sunny sunny. So one more time. And then ma. Here you did 2 bounces. Over here you just do 1. One more time. So we usually play all of these lines. I would suggest that you play every one of these lines for 2 times. And for both the times we are going to have separate variations. Right now I'm going to just teach you one. So this part we are going to use, which is not exactly an ornament, but we are using this technique to further beautify and make more presence of this specific line by using bowls. So if you have watched the previous episodes, then the term bowl should not be new to you. So it's basically patterns of the right hand using the da and the ra strokes. So what we are doing over here is one more time. So what I did over here is dara da chikari, dara da chikari, dara da chikari, ni ni re. So here I'm using a new kind of bowl that you have not learned. So usually we start our bowl or whatever we play with the right hand. The stroking usually starts from da, which is the downward to upward stroke. Here we are using the opposite, the rada rada. If you have watched our episode where we gave you a kind of complex bowl as a right hand practice, which consisted of 4 parts. So on the last part, it was da 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 da. We are using that same stroke. So one more time. So rada 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 rada. We are using the rada rada stroke on the right hand, but also we are playing sa sa ni ni sa ni ni re. I'm using a little trick here. So I'm using this very clever way of dividing all three strokes into two notes. So every note gets around 1.5 of the strokes. Now, what do I mean by 1.5? You find out. And this part is gone. And lastly, the antara. Over here, what I would like to do is one more time. One more time. Instead of this, we're going to have a slight wave between mapa and also the right hand stroke. So mapa mapa ga ga ma da na na. So you've already played Saregama Padhanisa Sanithapa Magaras on me. It's the same thing, but without playing all three strokes in the three notes. Without this, you do just one stroke from Thai and pull. Here I'm using another trick, a very small trick. Instead of playing Dhanisa, I'm playing Dhasa Nisa. Dhasa Nisa. So and then Nire Gare you can take from one more time, the same stroke I did here. So Ni Re Gare and then Sani Thapa. You should be no stranger to the Sani Thapa I played here, since you should have been always practicing the Mir with Dhanisa and Sanitha with strokes in every note. So one more time. Play the entire composition like with the details that I just played, maybe a few more, maybe a few less, but the idea is to give you an idea of improvising on how improvising on a fixed composition works. So I'm going to play it with just a little bit more speed. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you can feel that as we are going through deeper into what we have learned, It's starting to sound more mature, more professional. And before you know it, if you practice regularly, you're going to become an awesome sitar player. Best wishes for that. Signing off today. See you on the next class with another new and interesting topic. Bye bye.